Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of eXhuming the X-Files here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. I am Matthew, he is Jeremy,
Hello, everybody.
and every Friday we cover a new episode of the X-Files. So hit that like and subscribe if you like listening to our wonderful voices. Now we are in the home stretch of Season 3, and what episode are we covering tonight, Jeremy?
I don't know exactly how this is pronounced, but I'm reading it as Teso dos Bichos.
Directed by Kim Manners, written by somebody named John Chabon. Did you have any memory of this episode from your childhood
No,
days?
no, nothing. I don't think I would have held on to this one for any reason.
Yeah, I did have a memory of this, and I feel like I'm traumatized by cats. So people who know me well know that I hate cats. And the reason why I hate cats is 'cause I'm very, very allergic to them. To the point where there's been a couple times in my life I've had to go to the hospital to get breathing treatments because cats just constrict my airways. So I just avoid them as much as possible. And I remember the end of this episode. It's like seared into my childhood brain. So that was the only thing I remembered of it, though. But yeah, I don't know how long we're going to talk about this one because I don't know how much there is to talk about this episode. But kick us off here. What happened in the cold open?
All right, it starts with what looks like Civil War reenactment dudes with site survey equipment, but no, it's natives of some sort, native Americanos. You don't really know, but they're digging holes in the ground. And I wrote right after this, aliens. Please God, find some alien shit. But some dude is playing a pan flute, so you start moving that Native American feel, like south or south of
Yes,
Mexico
I
a little
wrote
bit
that.
further.
My note on here is like, okay, it's south of the border when the wind instruments pop up in the score.
They pull off a piece of pottery and start yelling for the white guy in charge to come running. Everybody's like yelling, "Muy malo, muy malo!" It's like, "Don't show it, don't show it." But they go to find the dude in charge. He finds the actual white guy that's in charge of the entire site. He's like, "I think you should go see this." It starts snowing. You find out they're in Ecuador. It starts snowing in Ecuador, and then they see it's part of a human skull inside of this pottery piece.
Yeah.
They say something about it being an imaru, a body of a female shaman, and it should not be disturbed. But Whitey gets mad at the dude that's like the go between the natives and him, telling him, you need to get that out of there because we really need to get that excavated and sent to America.
Yeah, this reminds me of like when the Brits went to Egypt and raided all the tombs and was like, "Well, we got to take all their artifacts back and put them in our museums."
It just seemed, overly hyped that they just needed this one piece. I don't know. But we needed to forward the story, so while they're doing this, or while nobody is volunteering themselves to go there and pick up this corpse of this old woman shaman. You remember Monty Python's Search for the Holy Grail?
Yes,
You remember the great sorcerer,
yes,
the wizard who is sometimes called Tim?
yes.
For some reason, Tim is watching them, like just to further that this is a native thing. He never come. I don't fucking know why he's there, but he's just being weird watching them all do this. Um, later, or they excavate it later that night. Whitey has to turn down his radio, his kind of sweet like boombox radio he has inside of his tent, because he hears like all of the natives sitting around in a drum circle, and he goes out to visit them, and they're all like passing around bowls of this snot looking soup. It's just real thick, and he he gets like he tries some, and they all are passing around. They also start tripping balls next to this fire, and then the head guy, the white dude in charge of this entire site, gets attacked by a leopard that they gave. Why did I write that? That a leopard that they also gave snot to. Was there a leopard that was eating the snot stew with them?
I don't think so. Like I don't remember that. I what I assumed was they were eating the snot stew, and that is what sort of caused the spirit of the witch that was in the urn or whatever to go into like panther mode and kill the archaeologist guy.
All right.
That's what I thought. I didn't see a panther drinking the soup.
I don't know why I wrote that. It's been a couple of weeks since I've watched this episode, so these these notes are a mystery to me in some parts. Then we get the title screen as soon as Whitey gets dead due to the leopard.
This is a long opening intro. It was like 5-6 minutes long, and I did not understand why. This was one of the weakest opening intros I felt we've certainly seen this season. Like this didn't capture my interest at all. I have a note later on here where I'm like, Fearful Symmetry was another one. All of these X Files episodes that deal with like not necessarily like the animals themselves are killing people, but it's like animal spirits or whatever it is. These episodes lose me. Like I have zero interest in this kind of stuff. And as soon as I saw like the shadow of the panther attack and kill, I'm just like, oh god, this is gonna be
Well,
like cat people or something. And like this is gonna suck. That was my
well,
feeling coming out of the opening.
you remember the Native American one that they did with the really awful werewolf mask
Yes.
like a couple of seasons ago? It was a lot like that, and I think television in general, every time that they would incorporate Indians into it, and I'm specifically remembering what was it? Star Trek Voyager. You remember? Did you ever watch that show?
No.
Oh, well, they had an Indian fella, a fella named Jacote that was on the deck. And the only time that they could figure out how to work him into a story was doing these lame ass spiritual journey plot lines.
Mm,
I think they are trying to be a little bit more sensitive and a little bit more thorough when they're involving representing other cultures in X Files than they did in other shows instead of the absolute awful stereotype shit. But every time they do it with Native American or native this side of the ocean stuff, it always just kind of
yeah.
sucks.
Feels a little weak. I will say that the urn with the skull in it was a cool looking prop. It was big. It looked neat. So that's about all I can say about that opening. And I actually noted that it looked like it was raining when it started. It goes from rain to snow in that sequence. It's just very weird. But yeah, didn't like it. Did not like the opening of this one.
It snows in Vancouver, not in Ecuador,
Yeah,
but it snows in Vancouver. So then okay. So after the title screen, we jump to a nerd in a South American native museum with a flashlight because who has light switches in a museum? He finds an excess of blood all over some shit, some drag marks, some meat, and then the shaman artifact is at the museum. So this skeleton that was inside of the jar is now at this museum, at the generic Museum of Natural History, I believe is the
you
name
know,
of this place. They were rescuing the artifacts as a patrol company was coming to destroy the whole area. The caretaker had no intention of returning the Ecuadorians the requested items. So like, what happened was, or what the I guess the impetus behind getting these out of that country was, they were just going to be ruined anyway, and the natives didn't seem to care. The wizard team or Tim was just fine with the site being completely obliterated by a fuel company, but once you start taking that shit out of the ground and moving it, like, you get attacked by cats.
yeah, shaky logic here in this episode.
Let me see here. There's a mousy assistant intern, and she's afraid because of the deaths. She knows that, or she was aware that there's a bunch of letters from the Ecuadorian government, or at least these natives, asking for the return of these. And she puts the FBI or Mulder and Scully onto Dr. Belak, which was Dr. Belak was the go between Whitey
Correct.
and the natives. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I,
And
did you wait, before we get to Doctor Belak? Did you notice who the when Mulder and Scully first show up at this museum because they're investigating the death of this dude, I love how Mulder all jumps to, "What about the curse?" Like, like Mulder's first thing is like, "There's a curse on this thing," and that's what ended up killing this guy. But the dude who's like, I don't know if he's the guy who runs the museum or whatever, with the beard and the glasses. Do you recognize who that guy is?
No.
That was the foreman from episode of The Host. That guy was running the basically water treatment plant, and he's now moved up to running a museum. So good for that guy.
I think I think I think the water treatment plant probably pays a lot more than the non-profit he's not working at. But all right, all
Horrible
right.
luck, dude. He works somewhere and a fluke turd man is trying to kill him, and then now he moves up. Oh, I'm just gonna get a nice desk job at a safe museum, and it turns out he pulls in a cursed item.
So they go to visit Dr. Belak, the guy who had returned from this other country, and he looks like shit. I wrote that he looks like he has a bad hangover, but invites him into his house anyway. Looks, from surrounding what's going on, he looks like he kind of went native to a point. You can see where he's stirring up the snot bowls
Yeah,
in some areas of his house, like he's just doing their drugs and not shaving his face and
sweaty, very sweaty.
oh god. And he warns them that he thinks this will keep happening as far as the deaths go until the bones are returned. And right off the bat, Scully thinks it's him, and for good reason. He
Yeah,
looks like shit, but thinks he's exacting revenge. What is it? The voice Dr. Belak, the actor, chooses to use through a lot of these scenes. I wrote down it makes him sound like a complete fucking
yeah.
tool. What's next? For some reason, Mulder doesn't think Belak had anything to do with it. And when challenged by Scully, he says the explanation. So the explanation he was devoured by a jaguar spirit. It's like, go with it, Scully.
Yeah, just go with it.
And that's
It's so dumb.
how we get from one or point A to point B in so many of these episodes is basically just that
Yeah,
statement. Go with it.
go with it.
So you have Mousy intern. She's worried about Dr. Belock. She's asking, or she asked why he lied to the FBI. Um,
I will say the guy that's running basically, I guess her boss that says, "Hey, stay away from Belak because her job's at stake."
yeah,
That guy, they named him Dr. Luton in this. That's a call to Val Luton, who in the 1940s created the horror film with the first jump scare. And he did like cat people and all of that. So they're throwing homages to sort of very classic horror films from the 1940s in this, which I did appreciate.
the first jump scare, huh?
Yeah.
What was the first jump scare?
Well, I will send a link to you.
I'll,
It involves
I'll check it
a
out.
cat in a bus.
Cool. Um, we have this in in this scene. We have the curator for is. I wrote him down as the curator. I'm assuming that's the doctor you just
Yeah,
mentioned.
Dr. Luton.
He's overly concerned that everybody knows that he is rescuing this artifact, and he warns the intern that be careful where you plant your flag.
Yeah.
Like it's an us versus Dr. Belak sort of thing, or with the FBI sort of thing. I didn't really understand that.
I got the sense that they're trying to get rid of Belak because I don't know if Belak's causing a problem with trying to convince because there's a whole like side subplot here with the State Department where they kind of mention it in passing, and then it comes back around at the very end where the museum really does not want to give these items back to Ecuador. And who knows, why they could probably make tons of money off of it and get all kinds of accolades from studying these things, whatever. And so I think Belak is a problem because Belak, they establish early on, he's like pro like the native Ecuadorians, and he wants them to give this stuff back, not just because it's cursed and everything, but he doesn't believe that they should have it. And I think Dr. Luton is like, look Mona, because her name is Mona. I wrote that down. It's like an interesting name to throw in there. He tells Mona like, stay away from this guy because if you start helping him, then your job's on the line.
And she seems to. Why does she have this lovesick puppy thing like half going
I
on
don't
with
know.
Doctor Belak?
I don't know if they were like
Sweat.
boyfriend girlfriend or if it was just friendship thing. It was unclear.
So the next scene we have the curator goes out to his Jaguar. He has a car that's a Jaguar. Haha. And I wrote that he has a stupid hat on. And of course the car battery is dead.
Yeah.
He pops the hood and he's got blood all over the engine, causing it not to work. And then he gets attacked and gets devoured. They show up to investigate and find the bottom half of a rat in the engine block.
Yep.
And then the intern lies about what the curator was asking about Dr. Belak and gives a card to Scully, or gives card to Scully if she has stuff to say. Wow, these notes. I should have gone over them before this episode. The cops start beating the wood line next to the car. We have Wish.com Predator is watching Mulder from the treetop.
I have a note here. I don't know exactly where this is in this sequence, but it's right after. I have it right after Scully finds rat bodies in the car engine. So many close-ups of fingers rubbing blood in this episode. So earlier on, there's a sequence when someone's like just puts their fingers in the blood and there's a nice close-up of it, and then there's like the shot of when Mulder with the intestines in the tree drops on Mulder and he's like picks it and there's close-ups just, and there's another one later on. It's like the director of this really wanted to show close-ups of people just rubbing their fingers with blood, and this happens in media all the time. It drives me crazy. Do you, I guess I'll ask you, have you ever in your life walked up to something that you thought was blood, stuck your fingers in it, rubbed it real close to your eyes to look? Because I've never done anything like that before. And I don't know if that's a real thing people do or if it's just something the media tells us people do.
I've done it to fluids that I've seen pooled up under my car to determine whether
Okay.
my water or there was water dripping out of the bottom, or if it's oil, or if it's antifreeze.
If you
I
saw something you
never
thought was blood, would you walk up and do
blood
it? Yeah.
to start playing with it. Fuck no, dude.
Okay. See, I wouldn't do it either. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
don't yell at me. I'm just saying it's.
Congratulations, you got AIDS now, dummy. Like, no.
It's just weird because in all these movies, people do it all the time, and they always show the cops doing it and stuff like that. Doesn't happen. Like nobody does that. It's a pet peeve.
All right. So yeah, they're beating the wood line, and then they see more rats in the engine block, and then I got blood is dripping from a tree on Mulder's face.
Yeah.
And then he sees some intestine wrapped around a branch. That's all that remains of the curator of the museum is this short piece of intestine.
Yeah.
The intern goes over to Belak's house. There's a familiarity there that leads me to believe that they were fucking. Belak gets all fucking weird, like I told you not to come here. Like he's just wanting to just slam the door and do a bunch of drugs. He has bowls of snot. I wrote he's got bowls of snot. He's just snacking on like a fucking pudding cup.
Yeah. I wrote that he's just dripping sweat in this sequence. Like he is so sweaty and she's like, "You look like hell."
She's really concerned. She looks at everything. She sees a junkie and she wants to help, but he doesn't want to be helped, so he throws her out.
Yeah.
The intestine investigation shows clam chowder and sunflower seeds were inside of the intestine. The only bite marks they could find are from tree rats.
I liked Mulder's line there though when Scully says, "Oh, there's some sunflower seeds in there." Never one to miss a moment to crack a joke. Mulder's like a man of taste. The guy just got eaten by rats. Mulder, show some respect.
Yeah, right. All that's left is that piece, you know. So the intern, she goes back to the museum. She calls the FBI to tell on Belak. Mulder tells her Just stay right there. He's on his way. And instead of just staying right there, she starts fucking with the shaman artifact.
Yep.
She gets this dog barking problem. They go to check it out. She finds a poltergeist in the bathroom, but it's just rats coming out. Was that the rats coming out of the toilet like crazy?
Yes, it was disgusting too. Like that was a really gross shot because that toilet water, it was all brown with rat shit. And if you look at the back of the toilet, it looked like it had rat shit all over the back of it. I mean, it was an ooky sequence right there.
The janitor did not do a good job.
No.
Daily in that bathroom. Meanwhile, Scully runs over to Dr. Belak's house and he finds the door open. It's like goes through the door that is already open to some of the worst music ever played in the show. It just didn't fit the scene at all.
Yeah.
I don't understand some of the music choices. Like Carter just passes it off to his brother-in-law's son or something. Just like, hey man, you're trying to release that CD, bring your Casio keyboard over and just do some of this music for us.
Yeah, normally the music on X-Files is really great, but every once in a while it's like, oh, what when you do 219 episodes, you can't be perfect every time.
She's walking around the house, I believe, with a flashlight, like looking at his drug stash. And I wrote, "Why does nobody use light switches anymore?
Yeah.
This is America."
Because those flashlights look so damn cool in the smoky haze of the rooms that they're walking around in.
Mulder's at the museum. He's trying to find the intern. Runs into the nerd from the title screen and just scares the shit out of Mulder. Takes him to her office. No one is there. Scully calls Mulder and tells him that Belak has just been tripping balls and writing in a diary called The Vine of the Soul. No, he's taking something called The Vine of the Soul. And it tells him that he looks like he's been invoking a curse, according to all of these crazy writings in the diary. She finds Belak in a blood-soaked bathroom saying she's dead, and he doesn't know where she is. Scully tells him he is too high to not recognize that he's the killer of all these people. So yeah, Scully confronts him and just says,
"Yeah,
you're the dude. It's you." They find that every toilet or they go into the bathroom where we lost track of the internet. They open a bowl it is full of piss and rats.
Yeah. It's so gross.
Right
around this time too, Mulder is talking about, like, Mulder comes to the great leap of logic that this is definitely, quote, transmigration of the soul into animal form, unquote. So Mulder figures it out around this point in the episode.
Yeah, because of course it is. They find the dog Sugar that has been kind of plaguing us and been obnoxious the entire episode is outside and it's dead due to rat poison. And the rat poison came because the dog, this is a domesticated dog, by the way, ate a cat. The cat ate a rat and the rat was poisoned. It was a nice dog too. Like it was barking a whole bunch, but you don't see like that particular. I can't remember what breed it was, but I do remember looking at that dog thinking that dog wouldn't hurt a fucking fly.
Yeah.
And so
Suspension
Mulder thinks,
of disbelief.
Oh right. we get another one of those lines. Mulder thinks the rats were trying to escape from the sewers, and that's why they bubbled up through the toilets.
Yeah.
And he says, "Go with it, Scully."
He should have just looked right at the camera and broken the fourth wall and just been like, "Go with it, audience." I'm like, okay, kind of have to.
Dummies. They find an entrance into the old sealed off sewer area. It's got blood all over it. And so they pop a man cover and they head on down into the sewer because why not?
I like him over Mulder's like, ladies first. And you just see Scully shaking her head in the background like, nah.
They walk around for a little while and find a single rat. Though they have walked through what seems like tens of minutes crawling down a ladder next to the museum, Scully suddenly says, "We should be under the museum here." Like they just went out to the curb, went down a ladder, and then like Had to walk half a mile just to get back to the museum.
Well, it looks like all that was shot in like how we shot the hallway scene in the Grand Horror, where we're trying to just
Oh
put
yeah,
it. We have one like small like 20-foot stretch of
guys, we need to milk
yeah,
this.
we have to walk as slow as possible, get every angle, try to make it look like a different hallway and stuff. That's what it felt like in that whole underground sewer sequence.
Eventually, they find this pile of bodies of people that have disappeared in the area after following this rat that's underneath the museum. They're all being stored down some sort of chute that I guess they were dropped down a chute in an older part of the museum.
Yeah.
We get another Wish.com Predator scene where you see like heat signatures through people, so the Jaguar must be close. But you think it's that, only they turn to find that the predator looking at them is just a normal ginger house cat.
Oh, God.
And suddenly there's this army of house cats just pouring out of everywhere. There's been nothing this entire episode about fucking house cats in the sewers, or like, it's just been there's a spirit leopard killing people, but all of a sudden we're fucking surrounded by house cats.
Like hundreds upon hundreds of them.
They're chasing Mulder and Scully. They look through a grate and they see like hundreds of cats on the other side of it, and cats are tearing their way like through the walls.
It is so stupid.
They find Belak in a chute that they were dumping the bodies down above the museum. They just kind of give the kitties the body. Was it Belak's body that they kind of just shoved down there? Like, here you go, cats, and then they
Yeah.
climb up the
Well,
chute and they barely make it out.
yeah, there's this ridiculous sequence before they get out, because I wrote here they are attacked by hundreds of cats until they just crawl up a vent and escape with ease. And-
Yep.
but right before that, I have a note here. Scully's actually attacked by the cat, and it is so obviously not a real cat she is struggling with, as it like scratches her face and shit. I was laughing. Like, this was so hilariously stupid.
Scully wasn't selling it, huh?
No. No Emmy for you, Jillian. Sorry.
Not this time. So they barely make it out of the chute in time. They get a hold of animal control, and they find not a single cat or evidence there was ever a bunch of house cats down there. Not a turd, not a bite mark. They find out that the Secretary of State is sending the bones back to the Indians by the end of the week. We get this Mulder narrative where we watch the natives rebury the shamaness. And then it does such a lame thing. We finally get back to Tim the sorcerer watching all of the natives put the shamaness back in the ground, and they zoom in on his eyes and they turn into cat's eyes.
Yeah. My note was he looks like he has Michael Jackson's werecat eyes from Thriller.
Yeah. But Thriller, everything in Thriller made up for how lame that was.
Yeah.
And then my final note is sorry, but this episode started barely not lame and only got exponentially lamer.
This is a bad episode. This I can't see this not being in my top 5 worst of this season. And I think the reason why it stands out so badly is because almost everything this season's been so awesome. And then when you see something that kind of takes you back to some of those really bad episodes from season 1, like Space or something, where you're just like, oh God, it feels like they were running on fumes towards the end of the season here, and they were just like, you know what, we're gonna take a week off and just shit out something really really stupid where we don't have to do a lot of work on. That's what this felt like. I hated this episode. What did you think of Teso dos Bichos?
I mean, hate is such a strong word. There are a few episodes that I reserve for it. I don't have the problem with cats that you do, and I couldn't quite say that I hated this episode, but I don't think there's nothing that sticks out for me that I really genuinely enjoyed. It was a bunch of shit I just didn't care about.
Yeah, I hated it. Maybe if it was, see, if it had been like an army of rats in that sewer that was trying to attack them or something like graveyard shift style stuff, maybe I would have liked this a little bit more. But man, all those,
Or maybe the fucking setting up the leopard spirit
yeah,
thing and just had it be that, you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, God, I
Fucking bait and
yeah.
switch me.
So, fun facts about this episode from IMDb and Wikipedia. The production of this episode was plagued with issues. At the last minute, the ending of the episode had to be rewritten. Originally, the episode was to feature hordes of common house cats attacking Mulder and Scully, but the cats refused to attack under direction, doing, quote, pretty much nothing, unquote. While director
Being
yeah,
cats.
while director Kim Manners felt that the episode's first three acts were, quote, the best three acts of television he had ever directed, unquote. He believed that the fourth act was, quote, an absolute disaster, unquote. Manners reportedly asked series creator Chris Carter to film a leopard for the fourth act rather than house cats, saying, quote, I begged Carter, please let's revisit the leopard in the teaser because I'm never going to make these cats scary, unquote. So, Jeremy, you can blame Chris Carter for the lack of leopard at the very beginning, coming back around in the last act. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Another
He
one.
probably called the people over like props and say, "Hey, do you know somebody that can get like 10 attack cats?" And they said, "Oh yeah, sure. Why the fuck not?" And then that's what it was, just some lady with some
Yeah,
cats.
the sequence where they have these house cats like breaking through that wooden door or scratching through it. I was laughing through this entire last act. But Gillian Anderson is allergic to cats, so would generally be acting alongside stuffed toys or puppets. She regards a scene where she has to wrestle with a cat toy dressed with rabbit fur as one of the low points of her time on the X Files. So there you go. She wasn't into this episode either. The character of Dr. Luton, as I mentioned earlier, is a reference to Val Luton, a producer of cheap but smart classic horror films. This episode is about animals, particularly cats, spiritually influenced to kill people. Val Luton's classic Cat People was about people who transform into jungle cats and kill people. His film The Leopard Man was about a leopard that terrorizes a Mexican town. That film features a scene where someone is killed on the other side of a door and the viewer only sees the blood seeping under the door. This episode features a shot of a door where blood has seeped under it, referencing this moment. And I will throw it out there if for people listening who are interested in classic horror films, the Val Luton horror films, RKO Pictures of the 1940s. I think he did like 6 or 7 of them. Amazing. They're incredible films. You can go just a plug of a video I did for a film called The Body Snatcher on Outpost Unknown's Forgotten Horrors series. That is an example of a Val Luton horror film. They're fantastic. You can learn a lot more about it. And Cat People is the film that has the first jump scare. So I'll place a link to that in the show notes if anyone's interested in seeing the very first jump scare in a horror film. Teso dos Bichos was strongly disliked by the cast and crew of The X-Files, including both David Duchovny and Kim Manners. Manners found the story uninteresting because, quote, pussycats are not scary, unquote. He later made t-shirts and gave them to the cast and crew that read Tesos dos Bichos Survivor. Manners bestowed 2 nicknames upon the episode. The first, Second Salmon, referred to the number of rewrites the episode went through. Every time an episode was rewritten, the color of the script changed accordingly. Teso dos Bichos went through so many rewrites that the cast eventually received a second round of salmon-colored copies. The second nickname, again, courtesy of Manners, was Teso dos Bitches. And then, just out of curiosity, because I don't speak Spanish, but I did throw Teso dos Bichos into Google Translate for whatever that's worth. And Google claims it translates to, I have 2 bugs. So I don't know if Google Translate is correct, but yeah. That's it for this episode. You have any final thoughts on this, Jeremy, that you want to...
I want one of those t-shirts that the cast got really badly. That is such an obscure joke to wear that I want one.
Should look on eBay to see if any of them are selling them in this shitty economy. So Thanks, everyone, for listening to another episode of eXhuming the X-Files here on Outpost Unknown. Stay tuned next Friday. We are going to be talking about episode 19 of Season 3, Hell Money, directed by Tucker Gates and Jeff Vlaming. So hit that like and subscribe, and we will see you next Friday.